So, do you want to learn how to tune electronic fuel injection live in person with the guys from RealTuners? We have 2-day courses in dyno shops all across the country. Register for these at RealTuners.com. Click on RealTuners Live Classes. For more info or to make a reservation, go to RealTuners.com or message us at RealTuners LLC on Facebook. Learn how to tune your own standalone EFI systems like Holley, FuelTech, Fast, and others on the chassis dyno. And now we've announced new GM, Gen 3, and Gen 4 2-day classes taught by James Short of Shore Tuning. Our classes cover such topics as traction control, individual cylinder tuning on a budget, safe tuning for maximum power, and power adder tuning. Upcoming classes with available seats are as follows. General Motors Gen 3 and Gen 4 factory ECU tuning with HP tuners at Trick Pro Motorsports in Palm Bay, Florida on December 1st and 2nd. And our new advanced standalone tuning for drag racers will debut at Kevin Smith's shop, KSR Performance in Gainesville, Florida on November 17th and 18th. This is a brand new class and Kevin's shop is the place to catch it first. Chicago area people, listen up. We have seats open at the standalone EFI Essentials class on October 27th and 28th in Rockford, Illinois. Details are in the live EFI tuning classes menu at RealTuners.com. Greetings all, and welcome to episode 65 of RealTuners Radio. It's Wednesday, October 17th, 2018, and we hope you're listening to us while wrenching on your projects. Tonight we're going to start off with Robin Roberts, promoter and sponsor of the upcoming No Prep Nationals race this weekend in Topeka, Kansas. This is a huge event with over $100,000 in payouts and has attracted people from all over the country, including guys from the TV show Street Outlaws and their offshoots. Then it'll be freestyle for the rest of the evening or until Bewley is done complaining. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to RealTuners Radio. All right, what's going on, everybody? A little bit different on the intro tonight. Changed things up a little bit, mainly because Rye wasn't around to help me do one. He's changing diapers again. So, this should be an interesting night. Got an interesting guest hanging out with us, Mr. Robin Roberts. We're going to talk to him in a little bit, talk about the No Prep Nationals coming up. Kind of a big race here for those of us in the Midwest, or even guys are coming from pretty far away. Actually, it even sounds like Mr. Sewell is going to come to this event. Tom, are you on with us tonight? And Audible? Sewell?
He's here. He must have stepped out. He must have stepped out for just a second.
Take a drink. All right. So, all right. Bill Fowler, what do you got going on, man? How was your week?
My week was fabulous. And one of the things that was the highlight of the week, actually, I'm going to circle this all the way back, was a chance to reconnect for a few minutes with Robin, who I'd had a chance to meet with at one of the pump gas drags. So we're talking about even back to the early days of drag week and stuff, the pump gas drags. And Robin had one of the most competitive cars there, a nitrous genuine Pontiac motor car. And it's completely interesting to understand how the whole street race car thing has evolved from that point in time. And we were talking about that a few minutes ago offline as we were getting ready for tonight. So I think, with Robin being here, this would be a great time to kind of, Robin, ask you to step in, describe a little bit about your history and everything with the fastest street car racing sport and what you've been, where you've been and what you're doing now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Those were very different days, the old pump gas drags. I remember we entered and got chosen. It was such a big deal to us, and mainly because I grew up one of those kids that when other kids were sneaking Playboys in the class, I was sneaking engine manuals. So I just had a different love, So to have one of your goals in life to be able to have improve it and get into one of those events was like a highlight.
Robin, I don't know what your microphone is, but if it's your phone or if it's a microphone from your PC, but stay real close to it because we're fading in and out a little bit. But tell us a little bit more about what you were doing in the early days.
Yeah, is that any better?
Yes.
Thank you.
On the mic?
Yes, sir.
So the early days we raced Pontiac forever, and even going into the pump gas drags like that, we'd have people walk up and look at the car and and not know that that's what was in it. And they'd see, oh, you got a real Pontiac. We'd say, yeah. And then they'd say, well, how do you think you're going to do? I remember the first one we went to, I said, well, I think we'll be top 5. And they'd laugh and walk away. So that was always a lot of fun to prove them wrong.
What was the combination like back in those days?
Well, we started out with just a basic Pontiac engine, and then one really unique story that was a lot of fun. We had a 470-inch engine in it, and we got our invite to the pump gas drags. We were trying to decide. For Christmas, I'd bought myself a new block and crank, and it was when the IA2s, the big bore stuff, was just coming out. And so we were trying to decide which we took, whether we tried to rush that engine together or if we just stuck with a combination we knew to go to the first pump gas drags. And David Freiberger, the editor of Hot Rod Magazine, was coming through Phoenix. And so he was stopping at our drag strip to take pictures. And so we went out to run, and he was there. We met him. I launched the car, David standing on the wall 100 feet out. And just right when I got next to him, that engine exploded. And we towed it back to the pit, and we're all laughing. And he comes over there, and he's, man, I'm so sorry you won't be able to make it to the race, but I don't understand why you guys are so happy. And I had told him, well, our decision's made now. We get to go home and build an engine. So we went home, worked like dogs for about 3 months to put it together, and went out there and ran 8s on 93 octane fuel. And at that time, it was unheard of to do that.
Yeah, and can you give everybody a sense, because a lot of folks listening on this may or may not know the history. What year was that when you first got out there and did that?
Yeah, that was 2005. So Drag Week hadn't been created yet. Drag Week came as an offshoot of what we were doing. So it was just a different format. That was a long time ago when I think about it.
Yeah, it is interesting. It feels like forever ago, and yet, the whole idea of what is fastest streetcar and what does fastest streetcar mean, right, and all of that. And at that time, pump gas drags as an evolution of the fastest streetcar deal, which is something else the magazines had done back in the day, was part of that. So there you were with an 8-second legitimate car in 2005. And for those of you who don't remember, Carl Scott won the initial drag week with a car that ran an average of 880, 890. He's going to call up or post on here in a minute and tell me how wrong I am. But, that was the deal. But the point is, you guys were right there with, how big was that Pontiac motor, legit Pontiac motor at that time?
540 inches. And it went, we went 870 at 162 on the unleaded fuel. And, it's a real interesting story about Carl Scott, too. He's from a town about 60 miles from where I grew up. So we both grew up right there in the same spot of the world and win and do so well those 2 events in a row to, something in the nation. And where we're from, I mean, there's more deer in our county than there are people.
That's interesting.
I think about the more deer
part,
part, and I think about people I remember who ran into deer on drag week, but we're not going to go there tonight. So let's fast forward a little bit. And what are you doing now? And where are you going this weekend?
Yeah, the fast forward story would be we raced that car for many years, and then there was a time when I just needed to make a leap. But we had 4 girls in high school. We have 7 daughters. We had 4 girls in high school, 2 in college, and I was trying to build a business, and time was just too tight. So I took about 5 years off and just raced at airport races and goofed around, and then decided to get back and get serious and do it right. And so we went looking for a car. That led us to this car that we have now, a 68 Firebird, beautiful car. Terry Murphy built it for himself. I love things with nostalgia. And he had built that car for him in high school, and he had it in high school, and then he owned it a couple times since then, and we picked it up. It'd never been down the track since he'd put a full Pro Mod style chassis under it, and then started racing. But I came here to Kansas City, bought Central Power Systems, went about fixing it and building a really nice business out of what we have, and it's a lot of fun. We do big frac engines and things that just make me happy. So
huge engines, by the way.
Around last year,
right. Sorry to interrupt, but huge engines. I'm a stationary engine freak too, so carry on.
Yeah, and so last year we did a race at the Speedway. I helped a couple of young guys get that going, and it was so much fun. And then that led to coming to do it this year. The Speedway kind of got flaky on us, so we teamed up with Chris Payne and Heartland Park, and they had a format they kind of started, and we jumped on board and we put a big sum of money up to help make it happen, to make sure that the payouts were right and everybody we'd build a great event and have some fun, which was really what I was in it for, and promote our company a little bit. And here we are.
So which company is that you're promoting?
Central Power Systems.
Power Systems.
Yep.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry.
Man, if the race this year is as good as last year, it's going to be absolutely amazing. We came out to the Speedway race last year. Oh my God, that is so awesome.
Tom, are you coming?
Wasn't that fantastic?
Yeah. We decided like a couple hours ago we're going to make the drive.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
Good.
Tom bringing out his car.
So, we alluded to this, but you've been appropriately humble on the topic. You've entered into kind of the no prep world, and what do you got and what are you doing in that? You've mentioned the car a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about what's happening in the no prep scene and where you guys are and what you plan to do.
Yeah, I wanted to come back when I could do it right, and doing it right to me meant being able to be competitive. I mean, you need to be. I figure if I couldn't get a car where we could put the effort and let's just face it, the financial capacity to get in there and have a car we could put in the top 5, then I didn't want to do it. And we've definitely, I think we've done that. This car has everything you could ask for. The car is, amazing. You look under it, you look at all the parts that are in it and what it is and the way that Terry built it, and it's really just it's a piece of art. It's tough. And so we raced it the first season with a nitrous engine, old Pro Mod nitrous engine that we came up with, and I never could just get it right. Like it always fought me. So we sold the whole drivetrain in the off season, and the boys down at HPP helped us put this 481X in it with a pair of 98s, and we revamped all of the fuel system and put 80 pounds of wiring and electronics in it, and now it's pretty special. Now I got to tune the loosen up behind the wheel. The car's great. The driver's still got to get his issues together. So coming along.
So coming along, you've entered a couple of the events so far. Honestly, how's it worked? What have you done?
Great.
How's the competition gone? And a lot of people on this show kind of know. Let's face it, we know what we know from seeing the No Prep series and the Street Outlaws and all of that, and that, for better or worse, that's the benchmark by how people are measured. How you doing?
It is. Yeah, this season we got it done. We got done a little late to hit the first No Prep Kings, which is you needed the points to be in where you're racing every one of them. So we missed our goal by about a month there of having it done. But our target race to open and get to was Outlaw Armageddon. And I got 3 test passes before we towed it to Outlaw Armageddon. And each time it got faster, and I kind of figured it out a little bit more. The first time I launched the car out and the boost came up, I just jumped out of it because it was,
Right.
I never felt anything cool like that. I mean, it just ripped you back in the seat, and it took a little bit of an adjustment for me. So we went into Outlaw Armageddon, and then fought a transmission issue, and then fought a starter issue, and finally get the car ready for the Saturday OG event. And And of course and there's another piece too. I draw Big Chief first round. And Chief and I have known each other a long time, mainly for the Pontiac connection. He used to call me and we'd talk about Pontiac stuff, and
Chief has
I'd never
participated
met
in
him, but we talked all
Pontiac.
the time on the phone.
He's participated in Pontiac forums for eons, like long before he was doing the street racing thing. Yep. We had him in our group for the Engine Masters Pontiac. That we had him in our Facebook group. He was interested. He's a legit Pontiac nut too. But so carry on.
Yeah, he still wants that intake.
Right.
So, knowing him as long as I have it.
Hey, Mark, what intake is that?
Oh, sorry. We should talk about that offline. Robin might.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt Robin. We'll talk later.
Yeah, afterwards, Robin, let's talk about this intake we built for a Pontiac that would blow your mind. It's a carbon. We'll show you in a little bit, but it's the optimum intake. But carry on. Yeah. So how did it go? I mean, you've the car. I know the car's got like a dozen passes on it. What? How did they go? You had 3 test hits. Then what? You were Outlaw Armageddon. You had Draw Chief.
Yeah. Well, we got our 4th pass on Friday night and broke things, and so the 5th pass really was drawing Chief, and we beat him. But they said we put it on him, and that was good. He had issues. We had a few slipping. We were both slipping and sliding in the top of the track, but for our 5th run, that's a big deal to go in and beat him at his home track. And as a technicality, we had the car rolled a little bit going on the trans brake, rolled about 3 inches, but it did roll. And so they disqualified our pass. And we came home. But since then, we've gone to several of the No Prep Kings. We've battled through little things, but when the car goes and the issues that we've been working through, which are just new car bugs, car gets faster every time. I get a little more used to it every time, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to be able to do with it. It's going to be pretty special.
Outstanding. Huh. Well, this is going to be fun to watch this weekend. So, what time? I guess does everything start Friday? Is that as I understand that right? Are you the schedule guy as well? Okay.
No, I put the money in and help them make things happen, but they run all the schedule, and the event is theirs. And I think Friday, everything will open up about noon, and everybody can come out anytime after that they want. I think we'll start going down the track about 2, I would guess, 1 or 2. And people will race all day, and they're going to grudge all day, and everyone will want to be tested up for the next day, because to have $40,000 in big tire and $40,000 in small tire to win, that's unheard of.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's awesome.
Is testing soon going to be ran from the other side of the track, just like the races?
Oh, yeah, this one's going to be run from the top side. It's going to be on their virgin asphalt. So if our experience from what we learned last year at the Speedway holds true, first few passes will be dicey, and then it'll start coming around. And by the end of the event, it'll be decent, but it's not going to be track type decent. It won't even be no prep track decent, but you'll be able to get down it. Last year's finals at Speedway, if you remember, was Larson and Monza, and they made a pretty fast pass.
So spectators, should they bring chairs and that kind of stuff, since it's going to be at the other end of the track?
Yeah, it's unique. It's got a hillside on both sides. So there's plenty of places to plop a lawn chair, or the weather's going to be great. It looks like 65 degrees and sunny, and so there'll be plenty of places to sit. Or I would definitely bring a lawn chair. It depends on, I guess, how fit you are, but there'll be lots of places and lots of room for everybody. And the pits are completely open. It's not like, one of the hard things about Heartland Park is that you're so far away from the pits on a normal race. This one, you're so much closer. You used to be able to walk right down to the hill and right back up to the pits, and all the drivers will be totally accessible. Chief and Sean are coming. A lot of other people are coming. You'll be able to.
Or is that it's on the website?
His engine's still broken, so he's out.
That sucks. Well,
how about Monza? Is Monza coming?
Monza's not. Monza and I are really good friends, and actually shared drivetrains, electronics, and everything. So he's a really cool dude, but he's tired. He's been running all those no prep races, and they've been wearing him out. And when they're in filming season, they're really going after it hard. So
I tell people it's
he
like
wants to be ready for his
professional level, any professional team level of preparation. Basically, you're going out every week or every other weekend.
You can't believe what they go through to keep those cars running in filming seasons. They're they get pretty hammered.
That is outstanding. Well, we are looking forward to that. Huh.
I think it's going to be a great event. I'm really fired up. Cool. I got all that nervous energy ready to go racing.
Right.
I'm in the same boat. I'm so excited.
Is your car ready, Tom?
Yeah, it's pretty much ready to go. I just had to change a starter wire, and we got to swap tires on it, and we should be good to go. I think we're going to try to leave in the morning.
Tom's got a should be a pretty well feared combo. What class are you going to race? Street? I'm running
the street class. I thought about running both classes, but all I have is a 28x9 slick, and I don't have a bunch of time on it, so I don't know how I do in the small tire class.
Going to be competitive, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. Nobody's gotten slower over the last 12 months.
No, that's for sure.
Right, can one of you guys describe what the classes are that go off overall and at this event? Because
first, hold on a sec. First, let's
on television, which is the kind of the big tire.
I can hear you.
There we go. We're back. All right. Sorry, that was us. So, just first before we go further, the website is thenoprepnationals.com. Okay, so www.thenoprepnationals.com.
They're on there. Yep, all the classes are on there. All the information you need. I think kids are free.
Correct.
There'll be, like I said, you won't find. I don't think you'll find. It's kind of like what we did at the Speedway. You just won't find a more accessible race. You won't find a race where you'll be able to be that close to the drivers and all the things that happen, and plus the unknown of the surface, where it's not gonna be a great deal. Everybody's gonna have to figure it out and get down the same track, but it'll be a great equalizer.
Gotcha.
Are you guys providing prep like you guys did at the Speedway race last year, or is it bring your own?
No, we provided prep last year because the Speedway was really concerned about what it would do to their asphalt. So they needed to choose it. They needed to choose one where they could read the MSDS and feel good about what would be and what would be put down. So that's the only reason we use just the prep for that one. This one, bring your own. We'll have a box that you have to do your pour in. Because one of the things I learned about last year at that Speedway race is people keep sneaking up to the line to get their stuff down. But no, we'll have you bring whatever you want, you run it. I'll be running Devil's Glue from our friend Nick.
Cool. We have a listener that's asking if there's going to be anyone to live feed the event.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, sounds like I think you're gonna have to, that's a good question. I'd say get a good Facebook feed and make friends with a lot of guys, a lot of the local Kansas City area guys. You'll see there should be a lot of Facebook videos at the very least. You should just show up. It's worth the travel. But I got a list of the classes right here. So it says we'll start off with pure street hard tire, then moving up modern muscle, which is 2004 and up model factory EFI type cars, still street cars, street outlaw. No back half or chassis cars, but outlaw small tire, stock appearing door cars, factory roof and quarters, and then outlaw big tire, same thing with big tires. So that breaks it down.
Yep.
That's gonna be awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna watch.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So who else? Anybody else got questions for Robin?
Because the event is part of the No Prep, the Street Outlaws No Prep series, and are filming an episode live there.
I don't think so, are they?
Anyone who would...
No.
No, they're not.
I think they are. I could be wrong. No, it's not being filmed? Oh, okay.
Not this one.
Nope, it won't be filmed, and it won't be.
Oh, I would.
No, we.
Another reason to come see it in person. Haha.
Real deal, no
absolutely
cameras,
another
no
reason
bullshit.
to come.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a legit race that the Street Outlaw guys just want to come race at for the money, and they're fast. That's what tells you it's going to be a cool event. That's so yeah. I went to the thing last year that kind of spawned this one, and it was outstanding. So if you like the Outlaw Armageddon type stuff,
I still get people I get people everywhere I go, if they recognize me and tie it to that event, that tell me that that's their favorite race of the year, and some of them tell me it's the favorite race they've ever been to. What we did at the Speedway, it was really just fantastic.
It's the favorite thing I've been to. I broke the night before, and I still had an amazing time. So
I'm looking at the weather, and it's calling for low mid 60s all weekend long. Beautiful weather, just the slightest short, like an hour window chance of rain on like Friday morning, but not, and that's like 30. Yeah, just a little tiny bit. Nice. Now we'll be. I'm looking forward to this. Okay. Cool. Anybody else questions for Robin before we let this guy go? Going once. We don't have Ryan here. We got all these quiet spots in the middle. Or Logan Tarrant.
No, I'm here.
Logan? Oh, he is here. Outstanding.
Yes. I just snuck in here. What's going on?
Nice. Not much. I don't know if you've been listening or not, but
I have. I literally just got on here, so
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. I had to pick up a new Hello Kitty phone today.
Yeah, I did.
Is that for real?
No, it's not a Hello Kitty phone. I had to get a new phone though, but it's not. It's uninteresting. Nothing related to no prep or cars. What you guys are talking about is way cooler than my phone.
The big question: Android or iPhone?
I'm not poor, so iPhone.
So like I said, Hello Kitty.
Right.
Enjoy your poverty phone.
Right. That's the line he's going to use now. That's all they got.
From now on, Rye will say hello, and he answers the phone going, bye.
Right.
Whatever.
Anyway. So, all right, cool. Well, let's let Robin get out of here. We knocked that out in 30 minutes. Doing pretty good. Thanks again, Robin Roberts, the No Prep Nationals, www.thenoprepnationals.com. Information on everything there at the track in Topeka, Kansas. Worth traveling for. It's about, like an hour, 45 minutes or an hour outside of Kansas City, Kansas. So not too far.
Yeah, 45 minutes real easy.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Robin. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, cool. All right. So, Rye, what's new in your week, man?
Well, car world, absolutely nothing to report here whatsoever. Just doing like editing videos and stuff like that, but I have nothing interesting to talk about. I brought nothing to the table.
In the clapped out world by chance? Anything fun like that?
Well, I'm trying to like.
Are we having dead time again?
No. Zuckerberg. I'm trying to like merge the Bull City Speed page and the clapped out page together. Like that's just to make it one rather than have the two, because there's kind of no point in having two. And man, Zuckerberg makes that really hard to do.
Really?
Yeah, it's just kind of a pain in the ass there. But no, man, I pretty much the weather here is finally cooling down, so I'm feeling kind of reinvigorated to work on some stuff. And I spent the most interesting thing I did in the garage was I hung up a bunch of new LED lights to improve the lighting. Man,
did it work?
It's so underrated. Like how nice it is to have good lighting.
That's awesome.
But
it's not confirmation bias or anything.
Yeah, I don't want to bore. I'm probably waiting for the live feed listeners to start dropping like flies while we're talking about
channel. Do it yourself home garage.
How to hang up new shop lights and iPhones and
right.
Yeah. Sorry. So do we get to the topics that we were going to talk about?
Right. Well, we do have Kenny Howard is wondering if anyone has bothered to mention or talked about Elpa's car making 5,200 horse at the tires yet.
I hear somebody stirring in their seat.
Oh, here we go.
So where do we want to start?
No,
Are we not going to touch that?
Moving along.
Yeah, moving right
along.
on. So what's our next subject?
Which is 100 lies.
What's that, Al?
I said, we'll just call it 5,200 lies.
5,200 lies. Okay,
moving
on to the
possible. I mean, at that point,
It's probably more like 400 or 500 lies.
yeah, you think so? I mean, I think that what I guess I don't know the weight of the car. I should know that. They're 29.
Weight doesn't
something.
matter. It's a dyno.
Well, but I mean, no, but the car, I'm talking about the weight and the ET in mile per hour that it's run. Some pretty good data out there on that combo already. It's the Alepa Corvette or whatever. So, I mean, you should be able to figure out, at least what the horsepower calculator says. That's just my 2 cents.
I say it's not quite up to the lying dyno.
It should be some of the biggest numbers you'd ever see. Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
It's making a lot. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, those
Not
other guys
quite
did the
with
Pro
that
Mod
dyno.
stuff in Chicago, and they were showing like in the 4s, not turned up as much. So, I mean, at least they're reading next to each other. I mean, nobody has any data of cars that make that much power. These crazy door cars that, can do 5,000 horsepower at the flywheel. So, at least, and 4,500 comfortably, I would think. I mean, isn't that what those turbos should be able to do?
I like to see the actual fuel consumption and do some actual back calculating based off of that. I think you could get closer with that than even some of the calculators for weight versus trap and ET, etc.
I think the problem is that those calculators that people look at online are great for when you're making 800, 1,000, maybe even say 1,500, 2,000, but it's not linear and it doesn't work like they're showing. The scale skews as power goes up and weight goes up, as speed goes up, everything changes. It's not linear. So you can't just use the calculators that are a linear calculator.
Well, another reason is because because you're not going to be putting that 5,000 horsepower down from the very start line all the way to the end.
The calculator is going to be an average of what you're laying down through the run, right? So it's going to be somewhere between the 800 to 1,200 they leave on and the whatever they make out the back door.
I guess the real answer is there is no standard for that. You know what I mean? How do you say this made 5,000 horsepower? What do you have it to compare it against?
Right.
I mean, it's a giant guess at that point, right?
Right.
Theoretically, it shouldn't be a guess because it's, a simple physics calculation, based on load and rotation, etc.
But
but the problem is you don't have
50%.
all of the data. You don't have the horsepower at 2/10 out, at 4/10 out. So kind of makes it kind of hard to plot. And then you throw in tire slip with it. How do you?
Well,
I think what James is talking about is the fuel. How much fuel is it eating?
I agree. The fuel mass is the best way to go. The other thing is maybe if you had the G data, that might be able to get you a little bit closer.
Methanol makes it hard. So methanol makes it hard on fuel data when you're running air fuels into like the bottom 3s. I don't know.
Yeah, but you can calculate for that. If you have a log that you have the actual air fuel that you're commanding and you have an actual fuel flow, you can back calculate to a standard number to figure that out. That's the thing that people have been doing forever. It's not just generically, if I put 10.0 in there instead of 12.0, now I just made 300 more horsepower. It's not the way it works. You got to back calculate that part out.
So I think where this whole thing should circle around is all we would really care about is it consistent? Would it repeat enough that you can do any tuning with it? That's all we care about, right?
And I have no problem saying that car is fast because it does make a lot of power.
No, I mean that's like radio versus the world level, Challenger type pretty much amazing door car and a beautiful built car. I don't know if you guys know that Nagel helped wire on that. Brad's not on here, but he actually did the wiring on that car like a couple times. He worked with John Holmeyer.
And I have no problem saying that dyno can be used to tune because it can. You can get lots of great data off of it to find out where it makes the most power, where it makes the most torque. You can use that as a tuning tool. So it's not that the dyno is wrong for tuning. I don't feel confident about the numbers it's spitting out being the Bible.
Right. But then, I mean, you're used to also like me going from one type of dyno to another and having like a 35% difference on the same day. You know, or in some of them, the different dynos read the same. It's not consistent dyno to dyno or car to car. So who the hell knows? Chassis dynos should not be used to determine power output levels or compare. It should literally just be tuning tools. I put your stuff on an engine dyno if you want to know what kind of power you're actually making from the fuel you're putting through the engine to how much of that you're converting to actual horsepower. That's engine dyno territory. Worth the money too. But Fowler's done it. You know, it's $1,000 a day or whatever, but it's very worth doing to figure things out. What kind of timing the engine wants and if things are going to break or not. I mean, we took bills out.
How many engine dynos out there will handle that kind of power though? Not
many. So the Proline dyno they test them out on. I've worked right across the parking lot is where the engine dyno is for Proline from Fuel Tech. I've worked in there a number of times. I've posted stuff on Facebook, but I think Doug was making a stop around like 25 or 2,800 horsepower, which was like 24 pounds of boost or something, mid 20s. And never wanted to turn it much more because he was just worried about, you know, breaking stuff on the dyno. And it has a gigantic drive shaft. Yeah. Right. So anyway, that's what I know. I haven't ever been on a dyno that supported more than that, you know, 2,800 horsepower, 2,600 or whatever it was we were making. There's some Facebook videos of mine from last year. But, so yeah, anyway, who knows? Who cares? As long as it's consistent. My guess is that it is. You know, I talked to some guys who use Joe Oplowski's dyno, which is the similar mainline hub dyno. And he said, yeah, once you got it sorted out, it was spitting out consistent numbers pole to pole. So they were able to get stuff done on Woody's car, Mark Woodruff's car. So, I mean, as long as it does that, that's fine. Chassis dyno power numbers scare me. I don't use that to decide how fast the car is going to go unless I'm really familiar with the dyno and have had a ton of cars on it, you know?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. You just have to be familiar with your own equipment pretty much. You know, you can't take one dyno's, you know, numbers as gospel over another. So
yeah, I think we've been down that road a few thousand times.
They did what they were setting out to do, though. They're trying to set a number out there. I mean, not necessarily hit a number, but they put the video out there because they knew it would get everybody talking, and it's a cool demonstration.
Look, it worked. We're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about it. I know those guys. Bud Hodge took the video, I'm sure. He's their video guy. Nicest dudes on the planet. Bud's so cool. They know what they're doing marketing-wise, but dude, I'm telling you, they're preparing that car to go out and be dominant in class. I mean, that's the Proline guys. That's not just... you know, somebody out there, dyno queens. I'm sure that this was just like, hey, we'll see if it'll make a pole and hold, you know, they're probably testing something holding together or, you know, boost. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure they're testing something. That's what they do. And that car will go out and smash you know, I mean, that car is badass. That's a top tier type of car. I'm guessing it's going to show up in Radio versus the World again, but we'll find out. We'll follow it. The Aleppa Corvette.
I do want to say I'm pretty glad that the guy sitting in the seat was actually wearing safety equipment because something like that, if it comes apart on the dyno, it's every bit as bad as if it comes apart on the track because that's a lot of fluids. It's a lot of fuel. There's guaranteed if something breaks and it spews fuel, that's a fire guaranteed. Yeah. So having your fire suit on us, that's super, super smart.
I thought they were doing it safe too. I'd liked seeing that in the video. Kudos to those guys. Well, that's funny. I talked to Lewis today, the guy that was helping run the dyno from Fuel Tech. Actually, we talked about another deal today, but they on the phone, hats off to Lewis and Cameron at Fuel Tech. I had some tech support questions. I wanted to make sure something I've got to use soon this weekend that I understand exactly how it works because I don't really have an opportunity to do like 3 test passes. Might get 1. So before this thing has to perform to a pretty high standard. So I was just having them review my work and got a hold of Cameron and dude, A+, Cameron. Good tech support today, like explaining deep torque management stuff when you want to apply 2 layers of torque management over each other. I'll leave it at that. But neat stuff on the Fuel Tech. So, Bewley, what's happening in your week? Did you, is it still busy season or are things slowing down yet?
Oh, no, dude. Things are starting to ramp up.
We're starting to actually... holidays coming up?
Yeah, just the season's drawn to a close, and you know the guys up north, their track time's drawn to a close real quick, and So they're packing stuff in for the winter, and they're starting to make changes, and everybody's looking for what's going to be coming down the pike for next year. So we're getting started. We're just getting ready to ramp up and start getting started on everything.
Right.
So the net of it is there's not really a downtime
for you.
There's the preseason, there's the season, and then there's getting ready for the next season, none of which implies that there's some kind of like sit back and do nothing period of time. Is that right, John?
It's build up, shake down, race, and repair, repeat.
You literally just described race car.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get, like, as far, it just the middle of the summer when everybody's stuff is together, we start talking about, I kind of transition from combination specking and putting things together for people to trying to help them optimize and get everything out of it as much as possible and tuning decisions and choices and things like that. So the support level stuff goes up during the season, and then this time of the year it kind of goes down a little bit when everybody's car gets parked, and then how can we make more horsepower part of things start this time of year, and then goes through till about March or April. So we just kind of, one part of it slows down while the other one picks up, and then it transitions back the other way the next part of the year.
So we'll transition into PRI. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say build, race, break, cuss, replace. That's the cycle.
Yep. Break, fix, repeat.
Shipping error.
I've got the cuss part down.
Paint jail.
So
all I was going to say is for manufacturers, you've got a two-part cycle depending upon kind of where and how deep you are into the racing end of the business between SEMA and PRI, where you start to announce, tease, bring out, what's next, what's new, what's happening. And a lot of you guys that are on this podcast are kind of at the cutting edge of that. So are there things that anyone here is willing to talk about or say a little bit about, what's next gen, what's happening, what people need to look for, what they need to be building into their plans for the next season?
I plead the fifth.
I'm just trying not to make all the mistakes next year that I made this year. So just fix what I got that's busted and then capitalize on what I already have. But I am not a professional at this by any sense.
So does that mean, do we have any advice for people who are trying to decide to be between running, 4L80s and Turbo 400s?
Oh, Lord, here we go.
There it was.
Yeah. As somebody who's ran both.
I know he was hinting at something.
I mean, as somebody who's ran both, and you guys, if you guys have been longtime listeners of this show, I went through a bunch of trials and tribulations trying to get my ADE to act right.
His first 4 months on the show, it was a transmission shop. Once a week.
And that was just simply, like I said before, I don't think it was something that was wrong with the transmission. It was just the characteristics of the transmission. It just didn't work out very good for what we were trying to do with it. I know guys have flown well into the 4s and the 8th mile with an ADE. I don't know the specifications of their combos, and I don't care to speculate. So, but I do know that in my personal experience, going to a 400 was the best thing I've ever done in the car. I do miss the ability to fly down the highway 80 miles an hour with the converter locked. Like, it's no big deal. But
gear vendor.
Flip side of that coin, there's gear vendors, but I don't even have a gear vendors right now. Flip side of the coin, I had zero issues cruising down the highway at the speed limit anywhere we went, towing a trailer on drag week. I had no issues with trans temperature, nothing. So I'm a 400 fan big time now.
You got to remember, for several decades, cars came out with power glides and turbo 400s from the factory. No lockup.
A buddy of mine who's got a C5 vet, he's younger. He went in my car the other day for the first time, and he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this thing drives so good. We're on the highway, and it's not screaming." I'm like, "It's really not that bad. I think it's more of an internet thing."
Yeah, and especially today, like high horsepower turbo cars, you have a pretty tall gear in the back anyway, so it can stretch its legs with a big power car. The converter is relatively tight, and you got a 327 or taller gear in the back, it'll do just fine.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some cars that I personally have experience with right now. Jonathan Coleman's car, 4L80E car last year. I'm really not a fan of that transmission. I'm really not. And we switched it out, and he put a power glide in it with a gear vendors. So we end up with a 4-speed. The splits are a little different, 181st gear instead of the 248. We took 110 pounds out of the car. I mean, there was literally, if I remember correctly, I'm sure Jonathan can fix me, correct me on this, but I think the number was 32 pounds in the converter from the 4L80E to the PTC 9.5.
I believe it.
And I've done some work with guys with 4L80Es, and we've put the PTC non-lockup 9.5 inch in, and they're cruising down the road within 200 RPM of what the lockup was going down the road in. So converter technology has really allowed the 3-speed non-lockup guys to just be within a few hundred RPM, going down the road. We do some things different for somebody like that. We might run a mechanical diode instead of running a spragless or something, like that, to where we don't have a lot of slip in high gear at cruising speed. But
I have like 1% slip cruising on the highway, so my car does really, really well.
Right. I mean, it's a fluid coupling, and fluid couplings only slip when they have torque input. So
cruising down the highway, you're making 20 foot-pounds or maybe 50 foot-pounds of torque. There's no power there.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah. So the coupling, the converter and the fluid coupling in the converter is going to stay coupled if the delta between input and required output to make the car do what you want it to do is close. The more torque input you put into the converter, the more it's going to slip until the output catches up. But, if you're not beating on it, you're not going to make the converter slip. It's going to stay locked up. The fluid's not going to get hot. It's cruising the 3-speed with a PTC converter is not as bad as everybody thinks it does. It's Mark Frederick's old Mustang. He had a turbo 400 and a 308 rear gear. I mean, you do the math on that. That'd be like having a 4L80 with a 355.
Yeah.
And that car needed a 308 gear to get out the back when it ran 176 miles an hour in the quarter. So, he could jump in that car and drive it anywhere he wanted to, and it just cruise like it was nothing.
Well, that's the other thing. People are running bigger tires than they used to. You know what I mean? Most people drive around on a 28 now, so that helps out a lot as well.
Oh, yeah. Of course. You get the final drive down, so the thing's not, if you can cruise at 22, 2,500, 2,700, it's not a big deal like it used to be.
The gearing is the biggest thing. If the guys are making so much more power, they have to be able to trap 180, 200 mile an hour in third gear. Well, if you do the back calculation, a 4L80 with, a 373 probably won't even go that fast in fourth. So the gearing ends up being pretty similar to what an overdrive tranny with a, conventional, 350, 373 style gear would anyway.
And that's assuming you can make a 4L80 live in fourth gear at wide open throttle.
Exactly.
That ain't gonna hold that.
It's also assuming
most guys try,
because if you're slow and you only go 109 miles in the quarter mile, then you don't have the right gearing. So
yeah, the flip side of the coin, 4L80 is a good transmission if you're not trying to if you're building something that's like a daily driver. I would like my little
or in
regular
your truck.
Cab,
it's awesome.
My little regular cab short bed truck outside that I'm going to be putting a turbo on just to cruise around daily driver. It's getting a 4L80 because it's got a 4L60 in it, and that's just trash. We know that ain't going to live anytime. But
everybody could just go ahead and put the man transmission in. The one that requires that pedal.
Of course, I knew you were going to say something about it. I was waiting for it.
The one with the slow pedal on the left?
Yeah, the pause button on the far left.
Oh, he means the one where you have to pull your tranny out every couple weeks. It keeps breaking.
Yeah, but again, are we talking somebody going to drive around?
My tranny's good so far.
That's always the question here. Is this, something you're trying to get? I hate to use this phrase, God help me, but max effort, or something where you're going to granny it a little bit. I mean, what is it? Horses for courses. The bottom line is when you're driving, and as an big inch NA guy, we're making more torque down low than any of these little turbo motors are. And the bottom line is we're still putting maybe 100 foot-pounds of torque into something to go down the road at 65 miles an hour. So it just doesn't matter. And people have gotten all wound up around that. So, listen to the guys here. There are people going sort of kind of fast with overdrive transmissions, but nobody that's going actually fast is. So pick your deal. Who are you? What do you want to do?
And there you have it, straight from the Bill Fowler's mouth. What was the next one we were going to talk about? We had a list in there.
Julie had some complaints.
Or are we going to avoid those?
I think there was 5 total, wasn't there?
There was.
I've got the list up, but looking at the verbiage that I used, I might want to change some of the verbiage. But
right.
Let's talk about. There is a discussion going on about different tuning strategies, and it came up about there are some people saying that there's no benefit from having an ignition table that appears to be smooth, or versus one that maybe looks like a topographical map of the Rocky Mountains. And why would there be a benefit or not be a benefit from having a smooth table or one that appears to be smooth? And my thoughts on that is because you have to understand as the engine transitions from either one load cell to the next or from RPM to the next, as you're changing your driving habits, if you have a big jump in timing, say 6 degrees from 2,300 RPM to 2,500 RPM, you're going to feel that it's not going to feel smooth as you're driving it. If you have a smooth table, you won't notice it. You get that OEM feel.
Don't be selling tunes if the graphical view looks like the Marianas Trench. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, it's not just hitting the smooth button either. But go ahead, James.
I mean, anybody that really truly steady states an engine will know that there's nowhere on the map that it should have
a jagged edge. Yep.
Does it ever want a 4 or 5 degree jump from a 5 kPa or even a 200 RPM?
Well, and that's funny you mention it, because I brought up my my towing motor as an example, because that's one that we did a lot of steady state testing on the engine dyno with we had 8 wide bands going. We had the whole 9 yards going on that thing. And then we put it on a chassis dyno, and we did steady state on the chassis dyno. We taught a class with it, and we had it on another chassis dyno. We did the same thing.
And where half the people walk out. Sorry, just kidding.
Yeah. One of those classes that was sold out, and we had to come up with extra chairs. Yeah, one of those.
I can't sell out a class. I don't know. Yeah, that's all right.
But
all right, too much inside baseball there, guys. Let's get to the point.
Carry on.
But the thing is that with all the steady state testing, there isn't one spot in my ignition map where there's a jump of 6 degrees or 8 degrees
or 18 or 25.
Yeah. And if you look at the ignition map, when you're up around, wide open throttle load, the ignition map follows the torque curve very closely. It's the cruise RPM where you get the hump in the middle, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
Small block wants 55 degrees of timing, and you're just like, what in the hell? I don't understand, but that's what it wants.
But again, if you're cruising down the road at part throttle, you don't want the timing map going from 44 degrees to 54 degrees to 44 degrees to 54 degrees, because the car isn't going to feel right. You're going to feel it, and it's not going to feel right.
So a lot of times isn't. Oh, go ahead.
a lot of times people will complain about a buck, and sometimes that bucking is because it's jumping around in the spark table, because they have, often it's, down lower where they're transitioning from an idle table up to a drive table, and they have like 20 degrees in the idle table for some reason because
like
the engine wants
surge.
to be there. And then all of a sudden they're crossing over just this little one spot. And it's up to like 28, 30 degrees. They got a 10-degree jump in there, and sometimes that's the buck that people feel. And they don't realize that if you can just make the sparks stay very steady in that area, a lot of that goes away. Now, if you have some fueling issues, it can cause buck too, but spark is a big part of it. That if it's 1 degree, 2 degree difference, it's probably not going to have any noticeable feel.
As much as I want to dog the guys that, somebody basically posted their picture of a timing map from a remote tuner they paid or whatever, and it was all jagged and messed up, and it was shamed on the couple of different groups I was in. And, and I see that there's the Ballsack Base Maps Facebook group. They basically feature all sorts of great stuff like this. I guess I got to look, I want to make fun of that too, but as the counterpoint to that, I try to look at both sides. And the counterpoint is, man, I know had a pretty crazy timing and fuel maps on a couple of customers of mine where we were making a race, and literally I just didn't have time to do anything like that. Like there was always 5 minutes to go and 40 minutes worth of work.
A lot of that stuff's beauty work is what that is.
A lot of it is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as it follows a smooth trace, what's above and below that?
This one mattered. it was pretty ugly. But just sometimes maybe there's situations where, guess what? I was battling a fuel pump for 3 hours. I had no time to do anything else. Once the car got buttoned up and out the door, just know that it was safe at wide open. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's a valid excuse.
Yeah. So Scott, no, this is an important point, because we're talking two very different things here. We're talking, there are things that you do under exigencies. I got to get this car to go down the track tonight, tomorrow, today. Yeah. And we're crutching something because of a fuel pump or whatever's happening. The belt is slipping because it's a mechanical drive on a methanol car. On the other hand, if we're looking at fuel maps, and I don't know if you've posted any of these for the people listening to look at them, but you're looking at the spark map or you're looking at the fuel map, and if you see these cliffs and canyons and other stuff which represent basically areas that have not been tuned, those nonlinear areas are what cause the bucking that Scott Evans was just talking about a second ago, and that's what we're getting at, is the difference between a Watt race car. The only thing you have to be able to do is tow it through the pits, fire it up in staging, and pull it out and run it, versus a car that you actually drive. And it's the cars you actually drive where the nonlinearities begin to show up and cause trouble. And that's where you can look at a map and see, has this map been fully tuned, spark or fuel? Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah. I think so.
So, yes.
I mean, but even on the Pro Stock car, it's some smoothing.
I think Scott was just trying to kind of mask, or not really mask, but give an example of a process of where that might have slipped out the door by somebody, where they ran out of time and just overlooked that timing map or something. But
and there's plenty of times when you can't hit all the bells.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what takes time. I mean, drive tuning. I've Lord knows I've done with Scott over the years. It's like, Scott, will you please sit with me in my car while we drive for 3 hours between tracks, and work out some of that sort of stuff.
That was actually cool. Didn't we drive to Bakersfield, or where did we drive? We drove a long trip once.
We drove to Bakersfield. We drove between God knows where and God knows where at Drag Week.
We've driven out to Inland Empire like 5 times.
Yeah.
And up and down
any number
PCH.
of times,
yeah.
To get all that stuff worked out. Whereas like the go down the track stuff was cool. The idle around town stuff was cool. But there was all that intermediate stuff. And we've all decided that we should be able to drive our 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 horsepower cars. Oh, we want to drive down the street and go cruise, Las Vegas Boulevard or, whatever else. And everything should look great and they should run great. We're in a different world now. And, that's all I'm saying is I think when people point out spikiness or weirdness, it's not a fully developed table, and that's going to show up.
I don't agree with that completely. To me, you can have a spiky table; it's still a good tune. Look at most of the OEM tunes. Like I just pulled up 3 stock GM tunes, and there's cliffs and valleys and stuff in those as well. And
right,
those guys spend years tuning cars. So I don't agree 100% with that, but you know.
Well, I kind of have to push back a little bit on that because the OEM stuff that I've seen,
stock tables suck.
Well, the stock tables suck, but the thing is, that one table is just a 3D representation of that one table. Like a GM ECU, for instance, it's got an EQ ratio correction table. It's got air temp. It's got coolant temp. It's got variable camshaft.
So there's a ton of stuff affecting this one on that
table.
Well,
exactly. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Just because you see a table and it's not perfectly smooth doesn't mean the tune's not smooth. It's kind of more what I'm trying to get at.
But
just
that
because it's not perfectly smooth doesn't mean it's bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's my response.
I think it's all just in standalone stuff. You can kind of look at a table and see if it's worth the turkey or not, you know,
and seeing that that's what's going to be delivered as actual timing. Yeah, but on a factory computer, you look at one map and it's hard to tell what the hell's actually going to happen until you plot
it. They're two different things, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Factory tables have adders that you don't see in the main table, and that's the thing. Most of our aftermarket ECUs, the large majority of people who are doing a hurry up and tune it tune are not doing adders for various things, other than maybe they're knocking off a little bit of timing for coolant when it gets hot, or maybe they're knocking off a little bit for the air temperature when it gets really hot. But most people aren't doing 6 layers of tables that all affect the main fuel table in the majority of our ECUs. There are people who do, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the vast majority of people are going, oh, here's one spark table for the whole car. And it's when that one spark table is the only spark table and it's jagged as hell that you feel all those issues.
Well, what about like the extreme level on a fuel table that has peaks and valleys, and you're running something and maybe closed loop correction is trying to lean the thing out, and then all of a sudden it hits a valley and goes excessively lean. Can that spell disaster? Or does it just transition through that cell?
If it's there long enough.
Yeah.
If it's there long enough, a little short duration isn't usually going to cause that kind of a problem.
Okay.
It also depends on, it's application specific, but some people have more aggressive PID settings for their closed loop control, which, if it hits a lean spot or a peak or valley, it could cause it to go into a wild oscillation. But anything's possible.
But if we're tuning, if the person tuning has a head on their shoulders and they're doing it right, they wouldn't be relying so much on the correction to save their motor. Once they call a tune done, the correction shouldn't be.
No, I mean that's why me personally, I do everything in like open loop. Delete any kind of closed loop control and look at the
start from scratch,
actual versus commanded, and manually build your table pretty much.
I do the same thing, because if a customer sends me a log and it's off by 30%, then I know there's something mechanically wrong with the car. Something happened, a fuel filter's dirty, an injector's dirty, a pump's going, something's going on. Because
before you just start tapping keys, you figure out, hey, why did this thing get so bad?
Exactly.
Instead of blaming the prior tuner, oh man, this guy had the fuel 40% off. No, it was probably on when he did it and something else moved out from under him. That's not the tune.
Right.
That's most of the time. That's what's going on there. So what's the lesson?
Yeah, the wires on the O2. Yeah, the wires on the O2 sensor melted against the headers, and now this thing's trimming like crazy. What the hell is going on here?
Hey, it sounds like we're coming around to a core lesson here. Don't automatically assume that you're awesome and the other tuner sucked. Funny.
Exactly.
How interesting. Yeah, don't.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with the timing map. Just because it doesn't have a smooth timing map or a fuel map doesn't mean the guy's an idiot. He might have been.
Don't try to impress your friends by claiming that you fixed something of the other guys that you probably didn't actually fix. Yeah, imagine that. What a lesson. We'll broadcast that out to the minions and the millions. So, hey man, look at that. It's past 9:00 already. We're going late again. You guys got anything else?
When you're having fun.
Yeah, it does, right? That was cool talking to Robin. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. That Pontiac that they put together in Kansas City is pretty nutso. So we'll be watching that and seeing the Big Chief and Murder Nova are going to be out there. Those guys are always going to be competitive at an event like this. It's kind of like a later year Outlaw Armageddon. But the NoPrepNationals.com. Check it out. Oh, all right. Well, guys.
Kyle Hunt says you guys have it wrong.
What's
the
that?
number one tuning rule is it's always the other tuner's fault.
Yeah, I know. I'm just getting tired of that.
And number two is
funny
mechanical issue.
Right. Number two is it's always a mechanical issue.
I just get tired of the excuses. I definitely don't like those whole I don't know. Don't ask your tuner, blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, if a guy built a $75,000 engine, then guess what? He's going to be breathing down your neck. So, yeah, you don't want to he doesn't want you making 200 pulls trying to figure out that lean spot. So the customer may actually be sitting there with you and asking those kind of questions, but it happens. Anyway, what else? Going once? Going twice? All right.
Did we miss anything on the mark?
I don't think we missed anything.
On the list? Oh, well,
we probably missed a lot on the list. We're just going to turn up the music and make you guys be quiet. All right. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. So thanks, everyone, for listening tonight, tuning in. We appreciate it. Good to have Robin Roberts on here. Go back and listen to it if you missed the earlier part of the show. Kind of lays out the No Prep Nationals thing, that the event that's coming up this weekend, and the weather is looking good for in Topeka. So hopefully a no rain, mid-60s, nice stuff, boost weather. That's all we got, everybody. Have a good week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care.